Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Indie Corner Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got an awesome guest. Troy Elke's here. How you doing, Troy?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Good, good. So Troy, so it's funny because we just became Facebook friends, but I've actually known your name a lot.
Ah,
I think you're friends with a lot of mutual friends, and you'll get
yeah.
tagged in a lot of stuff. I believe you know Lydia Manson, right?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people like that who I've worked with, and Angel Bradford, and all these names
Yep.
that I'm sure
Yep.
you're very familiar
Yep.
with. And
Yes, indeed.
yes, and they all like tag everybody. So, I heard your name and I was like, wait a minute. And Jimmy's the one who hooked us up, Jimmy
Yeah.
Presley. So I
Jimmy
really,
Presley. Happy birthday today, Jimmy.
oh, is it? Oh, well, today is his
Birthday.
birthday.
Today is his birthday.
Well, this will be out on Tuesday, so this will
Okay.
be
Well,
the happy belated birthday, but the
yes.
birthday on the
he,
day. You
he's
know,
older now.
yeah, he's a few days older. All right. Well, and Jimmy, yeah, thank you so much, Jimmy, for doing this. This is awesome. So first of all, I'm not as familiar with you as like some podcasters might be. So, first of all, tell us like, how did you get into the world of acting? Did you like always want to do this as like a kid, or did you sort of kind of stumble into it?
Well, I found I just as a child, I had a little brother that died when I was really young,
Oh,
and
that
I don't
sucks.
know
I'm
if it had
sorry.
anything to do with it. Well, I think I embraced kind of the dark side at that point. I mean, everything spooky, everything haunted. I mean, like Scooby Doo, they were ghosts and monsters, and so everything, the Hardy Boys, and I'm dating myself a little here, but everything growing up, the Universal monsters. Even things like Dial M for Murder and that kind of thing. My parents were real big into movies, so the drive-ins were big for us. We were big into TV and movies, and I went from just being in, I love the Creature from the Black Lagoon, all that stuff. If it was spooky, I love it. And then one day, my parents would let me stay up to watch Siskel and Ebert, and in 1978, they showed like 10 minutes of Halloween. And it was the scene where Jamie Lee Curtis ends up in the closet,
That's
and
always the go-to scene,
yeah,
like,
well,
right?
for this one, it was when she was in the doorway, and then he sat up in the back. I mean, I crapped a cat, and it was just like I was not, this was new. I mean, Frankenstein, you already knew he was whatever, and then I don't know that from when he sat up, it lit something, and then from there, I watched the Friday the 13th 1 and 2 at a friend's house, and then we went and talked my uncle into taking me to see it because I wasn't. I was just under the age. I think I was 12, and so he took us, and it was the cool. I forget what you call it, but the kind of 3D it was. It's not the red and blue glasses kind of thing. They were clear glasses, and it was insane. But um, yeah, I just felt I've always loved the spooky and the monster kind of stuff, and then I make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of skit videos, comedy and horror. I love Benny Hill. I love everything horror. So somewhere in there, I'm either usually making something goofy or monster or goofy monster. And just a few years ago, I decided I wanted to do it more professionally. Actually, whatever. Just not by myself anymore. So uh, it actually started out with just a small dream. I wanted to be an extra in a movie. I just told one day, you look at your grandkids, and if you pause right there, the 38th guy, to the left, that's your grandpa, and so I got into background acting here in Portland, and they started me my first gig as a featured background artist in the room with all the stars of the series network. It was a Netflix series, Trinkets.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Brianna Hildebrand, who was the Turbo, Teenage Turbo, I forget the name, on Deadpool. the
Oh yeah.
angry girl, and then the other girl was I forget her name, but she is in Fear Street, and she's like one of the main star of Fear Street, whatever, all three of them. And then the other girl went on to do she's I think Black Adam or something cool. But anyway, uh, so I got the bug of being on the set right there, but I'm like, I'm not interested in being in a large crowd. If I was a background actor at a football game, I'm the guy behind the coach with the big sign going "Go Team," or I'm the guy next to the coach holding the clipboard, or you know what I mean.
Right.
So, and then I find myself in the woods on a trail with another background actor and Nicolas Cage and another actress, and I didn't even know what I was walking into at that point. They're like, "You want to work on the movie?" Yeah, yeah. And then they started rumoring that he was like a producing it or something. And then when we saw him, it was like, "Wow!" And yeah, and then I got to work with Damon Wayans Jr. on something called "Kill the Orange." Kill the Orange Face Bear, and it's just an insane story. But that has was sold to Comedy Central. It got the axe. Anyway, these just in a rolling row, just really got the juices flowing. And
Hmm.
so, I've been studying, I've never gone to school or anything for it, but I've been studying just all the aspects of filmmaking. I need a whole bunch of work on screenplay and stuff. That's still it's a
We
lot of
all
mental
do.
work too, writing.
I think the biggest problem with that is there's no, even though there's like millions of freaking books about it, there's no real like definitive thing for screenwriting. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
no like this has to be this way or whatever. No matter what anybody tries to tell you, that's not true because you can look at so many different scripts and some of them are just so different from the other ones and they get picked up and they get bought and so that means that and they don't get changed into whatever so it's you look at like Back to the Future, if you look at their screenplay it's different than say like Clueless, like
Right. Right.
every script is written differently and everything
I
and so you know
I just recently, well, just this last summer, I was on set for a trailer here for a movie they're going to film in Portland, and the director is Michael Bayouth, who is turns out he's Ted White's son. Ted White, Jason Voorhees from Friday
nice.
the 13th Part Four. But in talking to him, he had told me some amazing stories. He got to be on set uh, on in Goonies, and the set he was on was in the pirate ship, and in the cavern and all that. And like of all the places in Goonies to be, that'd probably be the coolest, set to be on.
I don't know, like when you're on it, like you feel that way, Like
No,
I
no,
don't
but
think those
I think,
actors even like realized that what they had, I thought they probably
oh,
like, oh,
right.
this is fun, but like, when you see the movie, you're like, oh my God, that's so much cooler.
Yeah, looking back on it, it would have been cool. Be like, okay, the scene I got to be in or work on or whatever was this scene, and that's it just ended up being such an iconic scene and an iconic
Uh,
movie. And that's filmed right here in my state too, so it's pretty
nice.
popular around here. But yeah, so he has been really kind, and he let me read his screenplay. He's got a really awesome story called Cornstalkers, and he let me read it, and he's really been kind of trying to help me along as far as story structures and screenplay, and someone who has been around and very experienced. It's amazing. It's invaluable. So uh, yeah, I've always had the love for movies and stuff, and then I started doing this and then meeting such amazing people, and along the way, and it just makes you want more and more. And so now I'm working on my own my own my own flick. I hope to get about an hour 20 out of it.
Well,
And
I mean, all you can do is keep shooting. Sometimes you
yep,
can get more. Yeah.
yep. Now we're I wrote a short story called Nazi Werewolves from the Moon, and now We've got a basic script done, working on, some rewrites and finalizing it and all that. But we have a campaign underway, and we're going to be filming this summer. And the general story really is it's a little confusing. But first of all, I'll tell you this: we're shooting in black and white. This is a '50s movie. This
Mm.
is a '50s sci-fi creature feature. Okay, so we're going to have film grain, so it's all old. We have all '50s vehicles, 50s hairstyles, 50s lingo, and all
Clothes.
that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's and in true fashion of the older kind of movies like that, there's not going to be any nudity. We are going to have lots of blood, but um,
Lots of
there's not.
was it what did they use in Psycho, like a syrup, you know?
Yeah, they used Hershey's. Yeah, Hershey's
Yeah.
syrup. But well, see, we're going to colorize the blood, so we're going to
Oh,
use red. I
nice.
want it to be all black and white, but it's going to be colorized. So the thing is, it's 2050, so it's actually in the future. It's in the So what happened here is, after World War III, when the grid went down and everything, it was down for a few months. And when it came back up, the internet took even longer to get back up. And by the time it did, nobody really cared about it anymore. It's no, it was running at, not even the full capacity again, and nobody cared about it enough to build it back up where it was. There's no social media anymore. They just, there's a few recipes and whatever. So uh, they've returned to a simpler time. It's the '50s again, but they have their cell phones, which they use for phones, which I'm going to colorize those too, because the blood and the phones, they both represent some sort of, you know, could
So
be
okay, okay.
nefarious.
So you did say this is a little confusing because, and I get what you're saying with that because, like, so this takes place in 2050, yet
Yes,
they want to go back to 1950 to
they're
like,
living
like
like the '50s again.
yeah,
Yes,
like we said, a lot of people said, "Oh, 2020 is gonna be the 1920s, or whatever," and
right, right.
all this stuff, which it really wasn't. And it was kind of like it, I guess. There's probably similarities, but people could say, but you know,
Well, what happened was too. So in that's the story takes place in 2050. So it's a '50s movie, black and white, but it's in 2050. And what had happened in the '40s, when towards the end of World War II, when Hitler was killed, he wasn't.
mm,
He escaped. He escaped to the moon, and they'd been working on a base there for about 10 years. So he took off with scientists, his top soldiers, some dogs, his wife or girlfriend, whatever, and some soldiers, scientists, whatever. And they took off. The U.S. Army was so embarrassed by his escape that they made the story that he had killed himself. And then they went ahead and preemptively made up a story that to leak that he had escaped to Argentina so they could debunk it. And when they were leaving, there was a big shootout when they got away, and one of the soldiers, one of the Nazi soldiers, had dropped it like a microfilm, and one of the American soldiers took it. He didn't tell anybody; he just put it in his pocket, and so he's passed this down through generations. Now, Hitler's been alive on the moon for over 100 years. Before they took off to the
wait,
moon,
wait. So
they
he
had been.
survived 100 years because he was living on the moon, or like was there something that was keeping him alive?
Yes. So before they took off, his top right hand man, Hans Wilhelm, was getting secret injections, trying to create a super soldier after they had captured a werewolf. So they were taking werewolf blood, and they made a serum that they started to test on this guy, and he started to murder people in Germany or in and
Mm.
around World War II. Well, the German propaganda machine, blamed it on animal attacks and various things, despite evidence to the contrary. So they're all have werewolf blood in them of some sort, and so now they're on the moon, and the full moon of the werewolf. What better place to make the most powerful werewolves in the galaxy?
It's
So they've been sitting
interesting.
up there.
I never thought about that because the full moon, like Is the moon always full when it's when you're on it?
Yeah,
Like how is it
exactly,
like?
exactly. Yes, so they're just like in full power now. Um, when he comes down, it has to be during a full moon, so he has a limited time. But what they're doing is the microfilm that the soldier took and passed down through his military, uh, decorated military family, his father before him, and so on. Um, they're after that last thing. That last microfilm thing is the final puzzle piece for their galactic domination. And the only thing holding them back from that last and final step. So they have sent down a werewolf, a Nazi werewolf, in fact, to hunt down and find the vet, and they know where he is, and retrieve that microfilm so he could get back and they can take over the galaxy, and then it's over for everybody. But luckily, we've got some model Americans out there that are fighting the Nazis, and we got some kids that are trying to figure out what on earth is going on. They saw something go down. They're not aware of the werewolf per se, but they're being warned. Everyone's being warned, and we have to see what happens in the end. And the end has a twist that's even weirder than all of this. But yeah, that's, you know, in a nutshell, that's what it is. And we are doing we also have some extra cool stuff. So we have a full soundtrack, and I mean songs by a band uh, that will be used throughout the movie. And then I also have an original score being worked on for the actual music, and the scary music and the tension and all that. Um, we have miniatures, like Harryhausen kind of miniatures,
I was gonna ask, is this like all practical or is there gonna be CGI as well?
all practical. There will be no CGI.
So like when you make the moon, you're gonna make a set that looks like the moon, kind of thing.
Green screen is amazing. Just tell you that. But yes, I have. I've already made a crater. Well, the base inside the bottom of a crater, which we've been working on angles and frame rates and all that stuff, and just trying to get working on finding our best shot. But I've got a rocket. I've got the base, and then I spent a lot of time. I got a lot of model train stuff that I actually ended up with, including rock forms, plaster of Paris, and so I am really, really happy with the crater. I mean, it turned out uh, above and beyond what I thought. Even towards, even when I thought I was done, and I did a little something accidentally, and then realized, oh, I need more of that. That made it look more. So it turned out pretty good. So we got a lot of fun stuff involved in here. We've shot some of the flashback scenes. There's going to be a lot of blood. There's not even. I think "damn" is in the story is the worst cuss word.
Well, I mean, if
Uh,
it's supposed to be like a 50s kind of thing, are you
I'm
gonna
trying to.
are you gonna do the lingo like Daddy-O and Cool
Oh
Cat?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not going to be overdone like that, but it is like take it easy, Mac. Some of the smaller things to keep it. Uh, I really want to stay true to the feel of a 50s B sci-fi creature feature, but we're also going to use more modern camera angles, movements, that kind of thing.
What are some of
Uh,
your like favorite of those kind of movies?
oh man, the day the Earth stood still. Creature from the Black Lagoon is amazing. One of the movies that I watched recently that wasn't necessarily that good, but it wasn't terrible. It was kind of in a nutshell. Invasion of the Saucer Men, and it's free on YouTube or something. And it's just a kooky old B, black and white creature feature. But um, yeah, I always loved all those movies. I mean, there's there's a lot of those older classics that have like the weird alien with the big brain. I don't know, is that Plan 9 and or whatever, but
I don't think it was
um,
in Plan 9, but like I think it was like the brain from Eros or something like that.
there's this, yeah, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And then there's like one of the ones I used to love when I was a kid, and it always made the so bad, like they do the voiceovers or they played crappy movie theater or
Well,
whatever,
yeah,
and it was
Mystery Science Theater 3000, that kind of thing.
yeah, Day of the Triffids. That was one I
I've
liked
heard of
back in
it.
the day. Yeah, it was some kind of they were plants, and they got whatever, some space rays or something from a meteor came by, and
Mm.
and
I love that. Like I love those kind of like Plan 9 is just so silly and just so like Ed Wood was one of my favorite. I always he's
yes,
sort of an inspiration to me because even though he made bad movies, or whatever, or what we defined as bad movies, now that you see that anybody can make a movie, you're not Ed Wood doesn't look so bad now, because
right, right,
he tried really hard and he had a bigger budget than a lot of these people have nowadays, or whatever. So
yep.
I
I'm
don't know.
also working on a movie called Fur, which is campaigning right now too, and it is a killer animatronic bear, and I'll be doing the voice of the bear. Really looking
I
forward to
mean, are
that.
you
That's
just
going to be
saying
a lot of fun.
roar or is it like a talking bear?
No, I don't know yet. I haven't seen the entire script, but this shows him playing the piano and stuff, and so you know,
Okay, that
and
sounds a little silly, but all right.
Josh, the writer director,
Josh
is a pretty funny
Graves.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty funny guy. So yeah, I can't wait to see what he has written, and then maybe we can make a damn goofy movie.
I mean, if it's a talking bear, why not, right? Yeah.
Suppose so. It's if I it's an animatronic bear. It's like a Christmas bear at some display or something, and then a meteor comes by
Oh, that's kind
and
of
then
cool. All right.
starts killing everybody.
Nice. Well, that's what an animatronic bear would do if it could walk
That's
around,
what I'm
right?
saying. You ever eat at Chuck E. Cheese and they give you the eye?
Mm.
That's why they're
I
making all these weird movies now.
Yeah, at the restaurant we used for my movies or whatever, Rocco Smokehouse, they have a huge bear there, like a stuffed bear thing, but it's a big, big thing, and I'm like thinking that thing got loose, or whatever, woke up, we
Yeah, came
definitely
to
would have
life.
some, yeah, we definitely would have some problems,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's cool. I love movies that, especially like, I love movies in the 50s because they really tried to make something that had some sort of, message to what was going on, like whether it be stuff that's going on around in, the world, like as far as like, uh, you know, was the atom bomb being dropped and all these other things happening. They were trying to have a message, and I feel like I hate to say it, but most indie horror films, and a couple of mine included, things like that, don't really have a message that speaks to the audience of today. And I'm hoping your movie does have a little bit of that, like something that you could, because you're talking about the 2050, but we live in 2024, so like
Yep.
maybe,
There's a whole third world war and things that happen in between now and then in the story. So
which might very well happen. You never know.
you never know.
We're
Yep.
we're in a really weird place right now where like there are wars going around, and at any time if we jump in, it could become World War III. So, it's scary.
Did you ever see there was a TV movie in 1977? I actually own it. It's called Day of the Animals.
I've
Have
heard
you ever
of
seen it?
it. I have heard of it, and I think it's on like Vinegar Syndrome or one of those, things for a DVD, but I haven't seen it. No.
I love it. It's to what you were saying in the very beginning. See, back when I was young and like late 70s, early 80s, they were talking about the ozone layer. You're gonna, using your hairspray, you're gonna put this big hole in the ozone, and then I don't know, it's gonna suck us out into space or something. Anyway, So the beginning of this movie, it has the scrolling credit type thing in the beginning, and it's talking about due to whatever the ozone layer is getting so thin that the radiation's coming through. And so the premise of the movie is, I think they're in California somewhere, but they are at a town that's kind of a higher elevation, so closer to the radiation and all that. And it actually has Leslie Nielsen in it, which is weird because he plays um, a very, very bad guy. And, after Airplane and uh, Naked
Uh,
Gun and all
uh,
that, I'm used to him cracking a joke,
I
so
mean, you seen
it's a little
Creep
weird, but
Show? You seen the original Creep
yeah,
Show? Like,
same
yeah,
thing. Yes, he's just plays this creepy, and he played it good too. But uh, yeah, that reminded me of that. And then of course, Godzilla versus Hedorah or the Smog Monster. That was quite clear, a clear message about pollution.
yeah. There's tons of like that kind of talk like that sort of those sort of movies. And for me personally, I mean, most of the time I don't even realize that there's that message, and I think that's a sign of a pretty good movie when they don't like
Yeah,
bop you on the head with it, but it's there. There's like this underlying, talk or message. Nowadays, movies get so political that it just like berates you with it, and people don't
yeah.
want to see that anymore. People want to go back to being entertained, and if there's a message in there, just don't hit you over the head with it. Just let it be subtle. And I always think that's the best.
My favorite movies, I think, are uh, like the whole world problem, like the happening, any of the the
Really, you like
zombies,
the
the
happening?
well, I just like the those kind of movies where like stuff's happening to everyone,
Right.
and
The happening is pretty
I like
bad.
the yeah, I like the beginning when everybody's just jumping off the buildings and everything. Everybody's trying to figure out what the hell. But yeah,
Yeah.
it went pretty bad. But those kind of movies, where the giant meteor's coming, we have a giant, weather apocalypse. Anything like is happening to the world. I like those movies. The zombies, the outbreak, where it's just something.
Uh,
Um, and that's kind of where we're at here with Earth versus the Nazi werewolves from the moon. And
well, yeah. Well, have you ever watched the Asylum movies these days? That's like half of what they do these days. Like, I got to be an extra. You were an extra in a movie with Nicolas Cage. I was an extra in a movie with Eric Roberts, and it
oh,
was
cool.
yeah, oh man, he was so nice. But I had like one or two lines, and actually two lines. I had more, but this was a last minute thing, so I just we gave the lines to the writer, because he knew all the lines and he knew how to say them, and everything. I was just like I was a last minute replacement for somebody. But anyway, the point was like that was basically, it's called Collision Earth, and it was like
Okay.
that kind of thing where there's a meteor coming to Earth and the military has to figure out how to stop it. And there's these team of people who can figure it out. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty much Armageddon. It's pretty much Deep Impact on all these
Yeah.
other
Any
movies.
apocalyptic kind of thing.
Yeah, well, sci-fi pull, apocalyptic thing, or whatever,
Yeah.
which I like. I like that kind of stuff.
It's funny, Eric Roberts. I actually, I'm in a movie with him called It Wants Blood, and
With James
I am,
Balsamo.
yeah, I'm on the TV talking smack about his character, and he's sitting there
Nice.
watching it, and then I got in the credits at the end. So they had me talking about what a piece of garbage he is. There's no way I'd ever vote for this guy ever. And then in the end, I'm like, totally had his, the whole time. I always knew he ruled. He was the best.
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny. And it was Eric Roberts. I thought that was kind of cool.
So how did you end up working with James Balsamo?
Through Greg Gilbert in Python's Paradise. Greg had me on. He saw some of my YouTube stuff and brought me on his show. And then he's friends with James, and he turned me on to a couple. I'm in like three of his movies. Still waiting for Balsamo Beach to come out, but I'm in uh, I forget the name of it. Something I don't know, it escapes me right now. Something to Die, and then of course the It Wants Blood.
He was at my birthday what is it, birthday lunch that I did that
Huh.
I had asked him, I asked a bunch of people that were in a, because I was visiting LA for my birthday. I hadn't been.
He's really a funny guy.
Yeah, I used to live in LA, so I wanted to come back and just visit, and it was like this past birthday, so it was January, and I got to what is it, I got to meet his girlfriend, and then also got to hang out with Brink Stevens and was it Craig Hammond and Eric Spudic, so a bunch of the people that I'm like good friends with, and stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm sure you know some of those names, because
Sounds
they're
familiar for
yeah,
sure.
they're all in movies, and in this in the indie industry, and stuff. So, and you know Brink Stevens though, right? You know that name.
That sounds familiar.
She's a scream
What
queen.
are some?
Like
Okay.
uh was it Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle or something? Like
Oh God, yes, yes.
like
No, yeah.
I want to
That's
say
that's a while back.
yeah, no, she's been in this stuff since the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, we were talking about that, how freaking long she's been doing this and keeps doing it, you know. But yeah, yeah, she was in Munchie,
Hmm.
Teenage Exorcist,
I don't think I ever saw that one.
I haven't either. She was a small part in Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, which I just reviewed recently, and so much fun. I don't know if you ever saw that one. It's goofy. Um,
Way, way back. I don't think I remember. I remember the title, and I'm sure I saw it.
she was in Savage Streets, as a like extra, she was in Slumber Party Massacre. She was in a lot of stuff. So
Mm, wow.
yeah, so has a huge career, and so just having her at the you know having her at lunch was pretty neat and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But But yeah, I'm sure because you've done a lot of voice work, which I
Yeah.
want to talk about right now is like, how did you get into that? Like, did you always think, oh, voice work would be fun?
No, not really. I just do and have for years as far as some of the goofy videos that I do. Like I'll take older, episodes of Johnny Quest or something, and I'll put some really crude, rude, obnoxious humor on, but I'll just wipe the sound clear and just layer it all the way up and then put the voices over and all that. So I would do that kind of stuff all the time. And then Deborah Voorhees, who was Tina, I believe, in Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, she had a group that I was in, friends with her on Facebook, and she started asking people. She had an idea for a movie and if people would be interested. So there was a lot of interest and 13 fanboy. And so I ended up getting a part, my first voice stuff there because I entered a lot of contests on her site and stuff like that. And so I entered that, and so in 13 Fanboy, it's pretty fun when I just it's a simple line. It was like we're on our way, and that was it. But it was like, yeah, that was really fun. And Josh Graves, he actually before the 13 Fanboy thing, he had me doing some fake trailers for him. The Deranged, I think, was one, and then he was working on his first movie, Red Summer Massacre, and then like some people that had joined the project came in and then tried to sabotage it from the inside and tried to screw him over, and then it set him way back, and he had to start all over, and then he kind of came out with a different idea and a new approach, and then he's just been killing it. He's doing awesome, but So he was always having me do tons of his trailers, and then once I do a couple of trailers, then someone else, and then they start answering like people are looking for voice work. I'm like, well, I just did this, so now I have some actual samples, and and so it just kind of built up from there. And then I for some of the other people, I got like I play a recurring character in one. For October Studios, I think is the name of their studios. Dr. Dark. I'm in several of their things, and then it's just been fun. And well, right now I'm wait. Oh, Springsville. I am the voice of the main bad guy. He doesn't have a ton of lines, but they
Is
are
it like a
creepy.
Freddy Krueger type thing, or is it like a little bit more serious?
Uh, it's he did a really kind of a cool thing. It's like partially, I wouldn't say found footage, but investigative footage, and then partial movie footage. But he's based on a child murder, so it's kind of it's serious, but you have kind of the way the guy's dressed and everything. You have sort of a Michael Myers element, I guess, to it.
Oh,
But yeah, tons of stuff, and then like Matthew Mark Hunter, I've done tons of stuff for him, from talking sex dolls to I did a Nazi marshmallow one time, and
what, a
if
Nazi
anybody,
marshmallow?
yeah, in a UFO as an alien Nazi marshmallow, and then to take over the world. But
And that's not going to come
yeah,
back in
no,
your movie, like a crossover?
no, no. He actually mentioned that. He's like, hey man, maybe we could. But no, so it just yeah, I just been out there, and then I got a lot of friends that know that I really dig it, so they'll always tag me. Lydia Manson's one of them, Sean Thompson, but they're always tagging me and stuff when someone's looking for a voiceover. I just did one recently for Destiny Surya, her Christmas slasher movie. I did
Nice.
some work for her.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, so I had a review, like an interview with her that I did, and she unfortunately said too much about the movie or whatever, because like she gave away the name of the killer reindeer and everything or whatever, I guess, at the
Oh,
time, and she wasn't allowed to like say that name. I don't like, whatever. And so she had me like delete the interview, which I mean, I could have re-uploaded it without like and cut that stuff out, but I just was like, yeah, and it's okay. We'll just redo the interview at some point.
do over. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and she can talk about it at some point when she's not too busy. She's always busy.
See, I see her post. She's moving. She was in New York and then somewhere else, and yeah, busy,
Yeah,
busy.
I don't know how the hell she does that, because man, I don't travel so much, but she's just busy. She got always things good she's doing. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
indeed.
so do you love being part of this community?
Oh yeah. I have 13 Fanboy was the first ever movie that I was involved in a crowdfunding campaign, perks and crowdfunding, and being able to be in the movie, um, cast in the movie. I didn't buy the part, and I met so many cool people during that whole process. In fact, a lot of them don't even like each other anymore. But I'm not so, you screw me over, then, maybe I have a problem. But I, if people are good to me, I'm good to you. I'm not going to side with one person over another. I'm not going to treat this
I'm
person that way because so I
I'm
just
the
kind of
same
like,
way, and I don't ask others to
yeah,
to do that. If you want to stay friends with people, that's fine. Just don't get mad if I'm friends with somebody you don't like, and
right.
I won't get mad if you're friends with somebody I don't like.
Yeah.
Uh, there's
Yeah.
more than room for, as long as you're not like I mean. like a murderer or something, in real life, I don't give a crap. If you did something to piss me off, yes, we're not going to probably be friends.
Right.
And if I did something to piss you off, yes, I can understand us not being friends, because it
Yeah.
happens, in this industry,
For the
you know.
most part, it's really been awesome. And I got to see so many of these people support each other. And, with anything, if you throw a million people in a group, the more people you have, the odds that a couple of them might clash or ideas might clash, or someone might even get feelings hurt or, taking something the wrong way or whatever. The possibilities go up. But I've seen a couple of times in the industry where things seem to go haywire, a couple of different projects for whatever reason. Um, a couple of them sounded legit, like someone on set was being a creep or something like that. But the majority, the overwhelming majority, has just been great people. They're all trying to help each other. We're all fans, of horror films from different genres to different degrees. To you may have I don't know, but we all love the same thing, and
Mm.
I love watching, and I've been doing it for years now in producing and such, helping with getting projects done, watching these things come to fruition. I think it's neat. It's just something I enjoy. Now, some are better than others. Some people you can see maybe that didn't do that good, but you can see they have absolute potential. Um, but watching someone that is goes through the process, that is like serious enough to go through all it takes and then lay something out there on the table for you to judge. All right, I'll support. I go for
Exactly.
it. Who
Um,
who am I to kill someone's dream? And you never know. It's funny how you see some of these professional directors right now, and you look at some of their like student films and stuff, and they were like, "Wow, how did someone see that and go, wow, this guy's got to direct my movie?" Or you know what I mean? It's just like
right. And then
I
sometimes you're
obviously
lucky enough where you do see somebody who has talent and then they go on to do bigger stuff or whatever, and stuff. But
well, and then just having the eye, like these people, like if I saw this thing, I just would have thought, but there's someone out there that went, oh, there was something about something they were doing that was right. And so they were like, if we gave this guy a budget and actors and this, he's directing or doing whatever it is in the correct formula, I guess. I don't know. But
I mean, so this will be your directorial debut, right?
yeah, for a feature. Yep.
Yeah. And so, like, and you've been on sets, you've seen different
Yep.
directors, and
Yep.
how they handle stuff, and everything. And you've seen probably some that didn't handle it the way that, others probably would have in a kind of a bad way. But you probably, uh, like what have you kind of learned from that?
Well, even, it's funny because I was watching something the other night about how people direct differently. So I forget which person it was, but they said, they want a real stringent rehearsal. We're going to rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And then you have like Spielberg who said, we did a rehearsal and like these two actors are kind of meeting for the first time and I got the best performance out of them and I didn't even turn the camera on.
Mm.
30 takes later, I lost that little element of magic, so that's kind of two, separate degrees. I'm more, I have a vision of what I want to see, but I also want to leave it to the professionals. Like if you're
Mm.
the actor, I they kind of tell you what we need out of the scene. You got your lines and stuff, but it's up to you to give that character life. You know what I mean? The cameraman, my camera crew, they know their cameras inside and out. I don't have time to learn how every camera works and the depth of field settings and all this stuff, and then also write a screenplay and also do this. So I I like to lean on people and let them be their best. You be you. It's like in football, you'll get a team that will draft this quarterback that was so good in college, and then he comes here and you try to shove him in a system and he doesn't work. And then you have a different coach that is smart enough that will draft someone and then go, let's do what he does the best and build around that.
Hmm.
So you start him out immediately, with him able to do his best, and you just at that point you're giving them their best opportunity. I would think to do their best.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So I like to just let people kind of be what they are.
There you go. I so I just did a podcast about the movie Popcorn. I don't know if you ever saw the 1991
Yeah, way back
slasher
when.
flick,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
found out that the original director had got fired uh 3 weeks into the production. You know,
Oh
they
man.
just it just wasn't working. The lead actress got fired. It was Amy O'Neill from Honey I Shrunk the Kids and
Okay.
Fame and stuff. And they both got fired. Then it turned like the problem was that the director was spending too much time being detailed oriented, and one of the guys explained the guy would go, okay, you need to go, you're gonna walk in here, you're gonna walk over this place, you're gonna look over this way, you're gonna come over here, you're gonna see this, and by the time he got to go to say action, the guy just could remember all the stuff, and it was because the guy was too, like, he had a vision, which is great, but he didn't know how to communicate it with people, like, and he wasn't quick enough, like everything was slow and going, and that works for like Kubrick. you know Kubrick can take his time and make sure everything is perfect, but then you get people like Michelle or Michael, I think it's Michael Camino, who did Heaven's Gate, and that became such a clusterfuck because he took too much time to, like, he wanted the sun to be exactly right at the right spot for this one, which is great. It looks great and it's a fantastic film if you ever get through all 3.5 hours of it. But it's so, you know, the it's too detail oriented, and you
Yeah, like
can't
the
be like
actor,
that.
like you were saying with the actor, if you're telling them how they're walking and everything, unless there's a reason for it, like you got a busted knee, don't forget to limp or something, you know, unless they're doing an action, you're turning on a lamp or you're doing something like that, I think they would know that,
Right.
in the script. But yeah, I'm not one that would want to tell someone how to walk. You're delivering your lines, and if you are the character, and you're good at I believe you're the character, then I want to be surprised. I think sometimes you can get more natural things out of people. Like some of the videos I've shot way back when, I would require the acting ability to what they could do. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put them in a position where they couldn't, where they were looking like they were too much acting, even if they had never acted before. I'd make it very simple. Um, so you work with what you got, and I like just let people kind of do their thing. If you're delivering the lines, I want those idiosyncrasies, the character, the mannerisms, that kind of thing. I think those are the things, even in regular films, that when people come in and you hear that character wasn't supposed to do that, but he was just weird the way he was chewing the gum or whatever it was, uh, just made that character even more interesting. So I am definitely one to let artists be artists.
So are you to get off the indie stuff for a second, are you a big fan of like the Hollywood stuff that's going on?
Um, Off and on, it just depends. I love to like, well, horror is really pretty much all I go to the theater for. But Antlers a
Mm.
couple years ago, I loved that movie. I thought the acting, that kid was phenomenal. I just something about it was just a creepy vibe I dug.
A lot of people didn't
Um,
like it because it was a slow burn, and normally I don't like slow burns, but I love that director,
yeah,
who did
yeah,
it.
yeah. He is amazing.
I just bought a 4K movie at the Dollar General, of all places when I was in Los Angeles. It was well, I was in Bakersfield actually, but it was I think it was Hostiles, I think is what the movie was called, and it's the same director as Antlers, and
Oh,
he's great as
is
just
that Guillermo del Toro?
no, he produced Antlers, I believe.
Okay, okay,
The
okay,
director is Scott Cooper.
okay.
So yeah, this was the movie I got, Hostiles, and it was my friend and I were watching it for a little bit, and we are like, "Oh my God!" Right now, already the first 5 minutes of the movie, it's the most depressing shit you will ever see. And it's real life, kind of stuff. It's like Indians or Native Americans. I'm sorry, Native Americans being sort of attacked and things of that nature and stuff that was pretty like was real shit.
Massacres and tragedies and yeah,
Exactly. And in the first 5 minutes, and you're just like, I don't know if I want to see like
yeah.
you're
So this is
you're
how it's gonna go, huh?
yeah, I don't know if I want to watch a movie where like a lot of it's like that because it
Yeah,
just becomes like it's just like, oh my God, that's so negative, which is fine sometimes. You can get, 'cause it's real, you do want to see that, but sometimes you don't want to be in that headspace. You want to be
yeah,
in a
yeah.
more even horror films, they'll put you
I
in a
think that's yeah,
positive
that's what's
headspace.
fun about the campy horror movies. That's why those are fun because you kind of get that, but it's also it's just corny enough to keep you over here, not in it. So you're able to laugh and
Enjoy
enjoy the
yourself.
scariness. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what all you want to do is just enjoy the silliness, or whatever. And I think films, especially now, they try to be so serious and so whatever. And I'm like, dudes, if you made more
there is.
comedy in it, it would be more fun.
Yeah, there does seem like there's a different formula. Someone the other day said, the '80s movies, The Breakfast Club, and this and that, and all these movies, like the John Hughes films, will never be made again. And I'm like, why not? And then you look, and it's like, oh, I don't, I can't pinpoint what it is, but there's a whole different. It's just a different time, and I think, yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. It's just some
Well,
of them are, and I hate how they're doing remakes. And it's not that I hate a remake. It's that I think most of them are thrown out there with, or I don't want to insult the actors, but for instance, the new Poltergeist.
mhm.
So what they lost in the movie was Poltergeist was so Craig T. Nelson and Joe Beth Williams were integral to that movie. Like you can't replace certain characters and certain charisma between them and that kind of thing. And I think that's what's harder these days. They forget to have like I don't know, it just doesn't come off, like when they were smoking a joint in bed, giggling and laughing and talking like a duck, and then their kid walks in, and then of course you had your serious elements and all that too. But the new one, I thought they went more towards a horror movie, like I don't know, the original one had some more fun elements to it, and I don't
I
know, it's
think
hard to say,
the
but they.
I think the best remake of Poltergeist was called Insidious, and
Hmm.
that was a Poltergeist like, like I remember because I interviewed Lynn Shay, I think before I'd even got to see the movie or whatever, and I was asking her questions and I watched and I was like, that movie's so brilliant, and to know like, my friend and I do this thing called Horror Film Lovers, and we do like these reviews and stuff, and we're reviewing all like we went on a James Wan-a-thon, and we were reviewing a bunch of James Wan produced films and Conjuring and Insidious and stuff like that. And we did Insidious, and we were just like, this is so good. But like, if you think about where James Wan was before Insidious, he had um he had two flops, two
Mm.
terrible like movies that, and then Blumhouse came around and was like, you had two bad movies that didn't do well. Come work with us for much less than what you probably get from the studios, and then we'll make magic, and we will, you'll make that money back, and then you'll get your name back on top. And he did. And James Wan, even though people, joke on the Aquaman movies or whatever, I mean, he's out there doing stuff that people have probably dreamed about doing, in some way or another.
Hmm.
So I adore that stuff. And I adore Blumhouse, even though some movies I can live without of theirs,
What,
but I think that's almost any company.
what did you think of Hereditary?
I so it took a while before I actually watched it. I bought it on Blu-ray like last year, and I finally sat down and watched it and everything. And I liked it. I mean, it had some moments that were like really creepy, and cool and different. And I was like, "Oh my God, what is this movie?" But I mean, it's not my favorite. Let's just say that. Like it's got some great moments, but all in all, it's
I Not the kind that I would really watch again, but I just it was shocking, I should say. Like when the girl was beheaded, and then I always thought headless people are extra creepy.
yeah, when
Something
she was
about
looking out the window and
yeah.
yeah. Spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen the movie, that's your fault because it's been out for a
Yeah.
while.
Then when he goes home and he just leaves her in the car, her headless body, and goes up,
And
goes
then
to
he goes
bed,
up to,
doesn't
yeah,
tell
goes to
anybody.
bed and just, yeah, it doesn't say anything. That was just so fucking funny.
Yeah,
Um,
he was so traumatized. And what about the one with the oh God, what the hell was the name of that? With the
are you, so the same director made another movie right after called Midsummer, or whatever you want to call it. And, have you seen that one?
no, I did not. I heard that was a slow burn, and
It's got
I
one
kind of
scene that's very much like the headless scene that just shocked me. And, I won't say
uh
anything if you haven't seen it yet, but,
okay.
it's definitely it's got some shocking element. Actually, a lot of shocking elements, and I think that tends to be like a thing I don't like, And I did enjoy Midsommar, and that was the first one I watched that before I watched Hereditary. Interestingly enough, and I had to review that for another podcast, and I was just like, mean, it didn't really do anything for me, personally, but like I get people who like it. And then he did that Joaquin Phoenix movie, or whatever. I think.
What's the one with Justin Long and that rental property and
Um, I
them
think I know
getting
what you're talking about, but
the tunnel down below in the basement or whatever, and the big
I'm looking them up right
lady.
now. Because I don't think I ever watched it. I know
Oh, it's definite.
Barbarian,
No,
Barbarian.
Barbarian. If you haven't seen that,
No, I haven't seen it yet.
wow, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. It it's definitely worth a watch.
Justin
At the end,
Long
you're
is
like, oh,
funny, because he's in
yeah, he
so much
does a lot of
horror.
good stuff.
He's
He
in
actually, they did a movie here in my town, Gladstone, just a couple blocks away. It was him and the other guy, I don't remember, but Carl Weathers was here.
Oh, rest in peace, Carl.
Sasquatch Dumpling Gang is what they called it. I think it's called the Sasquatch Gang now.
What?
But yeah, Justin Long, and he
Oh,
was he was mullet having, mustache having, Camaro with the large wheels in the back and the small ones in the front. Colored fender type of guy.
right.
Um, he was awesome. He was
Oh,
awesome.
it hasn't been listed on uh oh, okay, yeah it is. Okay, so it's 2006, The Sasquatch Gang.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a new movie. But yeah, no, he he's one of those guys that like I love his career because he takes chances and he doesn't like he was in Tusk. We just reviewed that for
Yes,
what the fuck
yes.
Friday, and it was so funny because like looking at that movie again, having not seen it in a while, I just was like me and my friend were just thinking, what is it's gotta be it's got to be fun to be in that suit, right? But it's also got to be a little bit like suffocating and you know what I mean? Like, and I was like
Oh man,
thinking, is
you
he in that suit or is that somebody else, in the
him
suit?
in the beginning of Barbarian, he's driving in his convertible car and he's on the phone. That's all I'll tell you. But it's such a good scene for him. It is such a good scene, and because he's such a fun-loving, but really, this phone call reveals something quite
Wow.
different, and it's definitely it's worth the watch for sure.
I gotta check it out. I'm sad it doesn't seem to be on any
Streaming
streaming
platform.
stuff platforms. Which okay, so I want to talk to you about this. Are you a big physical media person or do you like streaming?
Both
Both?
really. I mean, I've got a lot of discs, and well, actually, I get a disc here about almost once every 2 weeks. So I just got The Sound of Freedom, watched that last night. A friend of mine buys movies, and he just sends them to me and has me send him the digital copy because he doesn't want the actual disc. And so I
So
just
you
keep
just
getting these
rip it
movies in
and
the
then
mail.
just send it to them? All right. Awesome.
No, I keep the disc. I just take a picture of the code, the digital code, because he has got a digital library. So he just downloads the digital code and gives me the disc. And
Oh,
so he's been sending me all kinds of movies. Barbie, just saw Barbie. Did not think I was
nice.
going to watch Barbie, but I ended up watching it.
It's funny. So many people are like, I don't want to watch Barbie because it's Barbie. And what do I have to? And I'm like thinking, well, I haven't seen it yet, but I can say like, I'm pretty sure it's not what you think of Barbie, like or
It's a
whatever.
100% not what I would have thought the movie was about, and actually, it ended up being pretty funny. I
Yeah,
did not hate it.
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. I have a partner in my indie film cafe stuff that I do. And uh he's older than I am. He's in his mid to late 50s, and stuff, and he hates Hollywood. Like Hollywood be damned, like I hate everything Hollywood now. Like Hollywood died in the 80s or whatever,
I
maybe even
kind of get it.
and kind of thing. And so like there occasionally like Oppenheimer he really wants to see because it looks good and the Martin Scorsese movie, things like that are just not the typical shit that Hollywood puts out. Like he won't
Right.
watch like Marvel movies or comic
I
book
do
stuff.
not like Marvel. I just
Do you
I have no
not?
interest in it. I
I
just my buddy every day I spend with, he loves it, and I just don't like superhero movies anymore. And I think I just got too blasted with them. CGI kills me when it's overly done, and now all I see is people in tights and see, the just I see it. I don't know. I don't like it.
But you
I
gotta
can't
like
get
the
into
movie
it.
The Boys. Have you ever seen the show The Boys on Amazon?
I've not.
You gotta see that. It's
Well,
like
I
the
mean,
most,
I love Deadpool was amazing, and
yeah.
I'll always watch the Spider-Mans, the Supermans, and the classics. In fact, I did watch the Wonder Woman. I like that. Okay,
Except for 1984, right? Did you see the new like Wonder Woman 1984?
I didn't finish that one. I got
Yeah.
distracted.
Well, I mean,
But
it's kind of
yeah,
sad when
no,
you.
I'm not that into them. I don't know what it is. They just kind of rub me the wrong way. But um, I mean, I kind of get it because now there's a little bit, the remake thing. We've been joking about this now for like 20 years, and it's like out of freaking control. I mean, The Little Mermaid. Okay, I don't mean this one. or the one before it, or the one before that, or the one before that. I think it's been like 6 times they've redone it. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't care who's playing who or whatever. None of that, I don't give a shit about any of that. But it's the story has already been told. Why tell it
Well,
again and again and
I
again?
mean, because it's a story, like it's a timeless tale. That's why, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but and they're trying to milk some more money out of it, but they just, I see so many times too where I don't know. It just the remakes, but then you also have to think because they used to joke for like the last 20 years, man, they've been like, what is Hollywood out of ideas? Well, in that whole midst of things, I also discovered things like Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of the most amazing movies ever. That was a remake.
Well,
Tons of movies that are
it was a at the time when they made Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was uh a throwback to a time that, that George Lucas loved. It goes with Star Wars. Somebody pointed
I
out,
believe there is a movie, I think, though, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but I thought there was literally a movie or something called Raiders of the Lost Ark, like in the 40s or something that was
I don't
black
think
and white.
so, but I don't know.
I
You
might be
might be
wrong. I
right.
might
You
be
might be
wrong.
right. I so somebody was saying that back in the day, there was that 2001 A Space Odyssey done by Stanley Kubrick. And at that time, nobody had done that yet, right? Nobody had made that kind of sci-fi kind of thing and make it whatever until after that movie got praise and got all this stuff. George Lucas was able to make Star Wars, and stuff. And that, you know, in a way you can
Well,
blame Jaws,
even
Alien,
then
and
they had so much trouble selling it. Nobody wanted it. That's how he got all the rights to the toys and everything. That was genius. That
well,
was
yeah, I
absolutely
mean,
genius.
yeah, there was a lot of problems. I remember watching that documentary about the making of it and just all the trials and tribulations that they went through just on the first movie, and everything. And he
Who
finally,
was it? It was his. I can't remember her name, but a woman came in and she is credited with saving it. She did. Hold on, because it sucked. Let me do a re-edit. Boom,
yeah,
and then you got what we have know today.
yep, and it was great. If that movie did really well, and then it skyrocketed to the next, they did the next movie, and I do feel like we have a little bit of sequelitis, but I'm different. I like cinematic universes. I like movies connecting, and I think it's because I'm a child of the 80s and 90s where uh especially 90s where like TGIF there was like crossovers and
Yeah,
different things, and I liked that. I know comic books have been doing that for years, or whatever. And
Freddie and Jason. I mean,
Freddy
there's
and Jason,
yeah,
yeah.
there is it is pretty cool to have
But it
those kind
has
of
to be
crossover
done
things.
well enough. Like I'm watching the Marvels right now and everything, and I'm kind of like I'm in the middle of it. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm kind of enjoying it just because I'm a Marvel simp. I'm sorry, I can't help it. But I
No,
didn't
it's
go
just
see it in the theater. I didn't see it in the theater, just because, and it wasn't because I didn't want to support three hardworking women or whatever. It's just I had no desire to see anything in the theater. Like the next theater experience I'm gonna go to is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Just
have
because Ghostbusters.
have you seen Godzilla -1?
No, I haven't. I'll wait for it for streaming.
Wow,
Yeah, I've heard
it
great
is
things, but I'm not a
incredible.
Godzilla fan. Like
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on them, and
Mhm.
so I honestly, I'm not a fan of like the new Godzilla stuff. Like I know
Uh,
that one is nothing like that, but like
right. I
I'm
hate
just
the American versions, all of them, all the way back to Matthew Broderick, all the
oh
way
well,
back to
no.
Godzilla 1980. I'm a big fan of Toho. Those are the guys in the rubber suits, and the old fun stuff where he had more of a personality. But this new one, the story in it, it's there's no way this thing doesn't get an Oscar. It's the greatest Godzilla movie that's ever been made because if you took Godzilla out of the movie, it would be an Oscar worthy movie.
Right.
the
Like
plot and
that's the
everything is.
problem is like horror, especially. I'm waiting for the day that tides start turning because the academy is made of like a lot of stuffy white people, white men, or whatever. And I think the tides are turning, and then horror is gonna slowly become like bigger into the academy, and people are gonna be trying to make really good movies and good horror films, like Silence of the Lambs is a horror film. I don't care if you call it a thriller
Yes,
or
it is.
whatever.
Yes, it is.
And it
Jaws
won
is a horror
Academy
film.
Awards. Yeah, Jaws
Yeah.
won Academy Awards. Um, but then they call them thrillers. They don't call them
Thrillers and suspense.
suspense thrillers. And I worked at a video store. We had a suspense thriller section, and I'm like,
Yep.
these movies are basically horror films. Just take out I mean, psychological horror films, or whatever, most of the time.
Watch Prom Night again. That's straight up PG-13. There was no gore. They did no one got you just saw like the arm come down and then maybe there would be a little blood on the wall, but you there
The
was like
original or
zero
the
gore.
remake?
Original Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
I
it
heard
was super tame.
yeah, or Terror Train, I'm sure was super tame,
Yeah,
for that kind of time
yeah.
period and stuff like that. But the 80s had such a weird kind of thing because I think there were some films that were, pushing the boundaries of what they can or cannot show to the MPAA. But then there's some films that, I don't know, it's just kind of we're just like, what, let's just make this movie and not have a lot of blood in it, or whatever.
Yeah,
We're making it for the art, of making Prom Night, a perfect
right.
example. So I don't know. I'm looking at I got movies over here and I'm looking at my Halloween collection and stuff and how different that is because each just like most of the horror things, each sequel got bloodier and bloodier a little bit. But if you watch the original horror film, there's not a lot of blood, in that movie.
Right. Right.
It's mainly the act of him coming down with the knife that's scary, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like horror films don't need that stuff, but also horror films don't need so much fucking nudity. I mean,
They insert it like it's sometimes it's funny. It's just like, hey, take your shirt off for no reason. We got to have boobs in our movie.
I
It's like has nothing to do with anything. But all
I
right,
worked I worked with a actress, Tina Kraus, and she said, I don't know if you know of her, but
sounds very familiar.
yeah, she's a scream queen. She's fantastic. And she was like, I ended up, we were supposed to do nudity for her, and I still paid her for the nudity, like all that stuff. But I chose not to do it, mainly for time. We just didn't have a lot of time to shoot that stuff. We had to get out of this hotel, quicker because the hotel people were starting to catch on stuff and telling us that we were too loud, and I didn't want them to shut down the movie while we are in the middle of shooting. So,
Right.
I said, okay, well, let's not do that. And then I told her that she was like, this is like the first time that, that I was told not to do nudity in this.
Yeah. Someone paid me to keep my clothes on. Wait a
Yeah.
minute.
And she was like, and I was like, really? She was like, yeah, most of the time guys will make up a reason like, oh, you're running into the woods and this tree catches your shirt and pulls it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Because
was
that
like,
happens all the
really?
time.
Like I just don't understand that. But it's the gratuitous nudity that just I don't think I think it's only needed if it's needed, like if there's a scene in the movie that calls for nudity, sort of thing. But like having somebody in a shower and they're just bathing themselves just to have a shower scene, basically, it gets sort of noxious, unless you're making like a throwback to the 80s or something. But nowadays we
Weird
don't
things
need
are
that shit.
happening, so I'm going to stop and skinny dip real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Like what in the world are you are you thinking? But whatever. It's not my, that's not my bag. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about seeing titties in a movie, but I'm gonna be like, I'm like, I kind of feel bad, because even though some actors love doing it and don't mind, they just like just will take it off. I still sort of like, I feel like it's a little bit of exploitation and stuff
Yeah,
that we just don't need to have, like, unless it's really crucial. And then people like Tony Scott were able to do it in a very sexy, sort of good looking way. Like Top Gun had that sex scene with Tom Cruise, and Kelly McGillis that just looked great. It was a very arty, and stuff. And it did everything it needed to do without doing it, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think horror films should be less a lot of the stuff that they do, especially in the indie world, because
well, I always wanted to make, and the same could be said for horror, but it's like, what if I always imagined this movie, and for some reason I imagined Jackie Chan in it, but like the guy gets up in the morning, he's brushing his teeth, whatever, normal, while the credits are rolling, the opening credits. And like the second, all he's trying to do is go to work. And the second he steps out of his door, for one reason or another, and he's just, the car's tumbling and he's doing all this stuff all the way to work. And it's like the most incredibly insane day in the world. And then I watched Hardcore Henry and realized, no, that sucked, man. It sucked.
yeah.
And then, horror, you have to be able to take your breath, or the next thing's not scary. It gets boring. So you have to have those times where you're all back to, okay, I'm back to good, and then the rising tension, and you kind of go back to whatever.
Mm,
So, um,
absolutely. I haven't seen Hardcore Henry, but saw the preview of it, and I was like, the whole preview
neat
is nothing but
idea. It's
action.
just, it's too fast. It doesn't stop. You almost get bored. It is too much.
Yeah. Um, there's a lot of ways to get bored. Indie film these days also there's certain directors or whatever that will just put so much padding into the movie of like people walking with music and stuff, and it's so boring. It's like, come on, I don't want to watch a movie where people are walking, like, you know, um though my
Yeah.
indie film cafe partner found a movie that actually exists. It's 3 hours of watching paint dry.
No, wow.
Yeah, apparently the British uh was it censor board or whatever has a thing where they have to watch every movie that
Uh,
that these people
somebody
send
got him
in.
back.
Yeah, because they were, I think I don't know if they had turned them down or something, or they were censoring all these movies, but he made a movie where he literally just put the camera on and made a whole thing where just watching paint dry. It was nuts. I've not seen it. I will not watch it. I mean, there's no reason for
I'll
me to
just
watch
fast
it.
forward for the good parts.
Like, it's literally yeah, I guess the good parts would be the parts where it actually started to, you know,
The end.
to dry,
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know. But it's just so funny that somebody did that. I'm like, that's insane.
No, it's brilliant.
All right, so you got this Indiegogo, that's out and available for people to check out. I'll put the link on the bottom of the info here so people can go check it out and everything. And do you have a website or anything like that yourself?
No, we're just running that right now. I'm, just on the Facebook and whatnot. And, we're offering what a lot of campaigns offer, parts of the movie, a lot of cool perks. And we're just trying to make something that's really going to be unique and fun. And I already have Eddie Deason signed on.
Nice.
So
From wasn't he
I've
like
been,
ski school or something, or
he was in Grease and
the original
War
Grease?
Games. Yeah, and War Games. And he's the voices of like a zillion characters. Um,
Yes, War Games, Grease, The Polar Express,
Can't Buy Me
1980.
Love. No, there was, I forget the other one he was in with Wendy Joe Sperber. He's at that movie tonight watching it in the theater with his agent. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about having Eddie, and I've been a big fan of him. Nobody can Eddie Deason like Eddie Deason. He's really unique and a very recognizable character from so many things, and he's just been so damn funny. I'm like, I would love to have him. And I was fortunate enough that my first choice for the part that he's playing was him. And I just, for the heck of it, started talking to some people. And the next thing I knew, bam, there
There
it
you
is
go.
with full authority to mention it. And so, yeah,
I just
yep.
watched him recently, and I Want to Hold Your Hand. I forgot about that. He was in I Want to
That's the
Hold.
movie I was just thinking of. Yeah, him and his buddy Steve are there tonight watching it in a theater.
That's
I
awesome.
was a big, huge fan of Wendy Jo Sperber. Actually, I always loved her. There's something about her to me that stood out. She had such good comedic presence. There's a movie called Moving Violations. She's in
Oh,
it.
I own that. Yeah, I love it.
She was hilarious. Yeah, I love that movie. I when I worked at the theater back in
Yeah,
19.
she was in Back to the Future. She was the sister of
Yes,
Michael J.
yes,
Fox, and she was
yeah. She
wonderful.
was
She
always
had
great.
such a great career going, and then I think unfortunately she passed
Cancer.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a bummer. Um we cancer gets all the best people, man. Like, and
Well,
it's
death is
sad.
coming for us one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
At
can't
some
really
point.
stop it, you know.
No.
You might be able to delay it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Prolong, maybe.
Prolong, but you can't. You're only delaying the inevitable.
That's
We're
right.
all we're all gonna die. But unfortunately, I had a string of deaths happen like this. Starting December. So I was like, can
Mm.
just death just give me a break for like at least a few months, just to like, you know.
Well, it seems every year during the holiday season, it seems like
I have a theory
tragedies.
about that.
Something.
I think that death takes it more because he has a quota. And he was like, oops, I forgot to pick up these guys and do this.
Yeah, I got to
So
get some extras there before the end of
yeah.
the year.
Yeah, before God looks at me and, asks me ask me how many I did today. It's like that scene in
Yeah,
Super Troopers where he's like
got to get the
the
quota.
yeah, he's like the chief's like, you only did, five or whatever, and it's like, hey, I can't make him speed. And the guy's like, try hiding, you know, or whatever. And I love that
Yep.
because I can't believe that, like, I mean, that is probably a very true thing. Like each month, cops have a quota of how many people
Well,
they have to, yeah.
they'll deny it, but if you think about it, if a guy's out on patrol and he never gives anybody a ticket, he could just go park behind a Dunkin' Donuts and go to sleep, or whatever. So
They
it's
have
like,
to
I guess
prove
that's
somehow he's
receipts. He brought the receipts, literally.
I know, like there's got to be somehow he's, been caught like that, but whatever. Anyway, it's true, and I actually, when I worked at the video store, that was when I saw Super Troopers. I saw a couple state troopers come in. I said, "Oh, you guys must love that movie," and they were like, "Nope, not at all. I
A
hate that
burger
movie."
for a cop. That seems
I
hilarious.
did interview the guy who did the who did the what is it, the meow scene, and everything. I
Oh,
get to interview him.
nice.
And
Right, meow. Yeah.
yeah, right, meow. And I got to interview him. And I was working at Burger King at the time, and I interviewed him. And the day that I was about to interview him, I was working, or the day before or something. And I heard the guy up in the front go, I need a double cheeseburger. It's for a cop. And he was on the phone with me, and I told him that, and he goes, did you tell him to hold the spit? I was like, damn it, I did it. Where were you in my head when that happened? I don't know. I was just so shocked that that literally happened like right before I got to interview the guy,
That's
and
funny.
stuff. Yeah. So it was neat. Steve Lemmy is the actor's name, and he's a wonderful dude. I have not talked to him since that interview, but like we don't, I was just very happy to get that chance and that opportunity and stuff. So, but anyway, thank you so much once again. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Really appreciate having you here. And are you on any other social medias other than Facebook?
Well, I was, but TikTok just gave me the boot. They
What?
always
Did you
do.
do something like they were not happy with? Was it horror related or something or what?
No, I do like I said, I do a lot of cartoon voiceovers and such, and I have a dark sense of humor, and I make fun of anything and whatever, but within reason. So I see jokes in places, and sometimes maybe they shouldn't be said, but I see them, so I say them. And there is in the original Grinch, when the Grinch he's coming down the thing, and they zoom into his heart, and they're talking about how his heart grew 2 sizes that day, and I just turned it into like he had too many boosters, and he got like myocarditis,
Hmm.
and they're like, nope. And they'd already given me a couple warnings for a couple other videos that were just like dumb, and I'm like, oh,
So that was
talk
like the
about the
straw. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
that was the one. And I'm like, I don't even give a shit. I On Facebook, I have Troy Oelke, Troy Oelke 2, Troy Oelke 3, Troy Oelke 4, Ima, really Troy Oelke. And once they figured out how to associate all those together, once one's down, the rest are down. So they took one of my profiles and I had to restart all fresh. I could use my name again because I wasn't on any block list anymore because it didn't exist. But I would get like my friends would share the same memes and nothing would happen. And at some point, once you get on a list, you're just in trouble.
Oh, they're
If you
just
share the wrong,
watching you like
yeah,
constantly.
they're you share the wrong thing, and
No Jeffrey Dahmer ones, apparently. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
it's
understand that. Like, I mean, first of all, they're jokes, and they're
yep.
jokes about cannibalism. What's bad on Facebook about cannibalism? Like,
Well, it's weird too. Like even if you did something in the context of historical accuracy, I mean, Hitler was on the cover of like Time magazine or something way back when, and if you even like post a picture of Hitler saying, beware of this jackass, or you could talk all bad about him. AI picks up that it's Hitler, and you
yeah,
are man. You're for sharing dangerous organizations. And yeah, but I was saying that they were a dangerous organization, and they're like, yeah, but you shared it. And I'm like, well, how else was I supposed to tell people it was dangerous, or whatever? But it's just weird. And then I think what's happening now, I'm seeing tons and tons of people like legit that aren't posting anything wrong, that not even could be construed as wrong, and they're getting it. And I tell them appeal because the AI, they're having a lot of the AI go out and start hitting things and to pull it down, and then you have to say, hey, and then if a human will look at it, I go, oh yeah, yeah, you're right. If they got it wrong, um, then you're good. And I had that happen to me several times, and I appealed and won like 6 out of 10. But
hmm
then when it hit 10, they said you had 10 in a row. You're out of here. And I'm like, well, I won 6 of those. It's not 10 in a row at all. I was right.
I had
So
these I had these guys start like a hate page about me and shit. This is back in like 2013, and they were like just attacking me, like, and they were
wow.
pretending to be me, and they were saying all these things. Some of them were actually true, but like things I don't want people to know that like they found out about me, and shit and stuff. So I was like, I don't, like this was bad and shit. And so I would keep reporting it. Like, and one
And
of
they'd
my
say, we
friends,
left it up there. It doesn't go
yeah,
against our
they were like,
standards.
oh yeah, it doesn't go against our standards. The next day, and I talked to one of my close friends about it, and I said, like, look, what do I do about this? Or whatever. He goes, report it. And then tomorrow, report it again. The next day, report it again. And I did that for like, I think it was 2 weeks or something, reporting like different stuff, some which actually had my name and it was saying it was me. So I was like, this is impersonating a person and, all these other things and stuff. And this goes against, this stuff. And eventually they got rid of it and they blocked those guys from what I heard from like they banned them from using Facebook for a little bit and stuff. So as they should as a punishment, but like I was just like so fucking pissed. It was like you're supposed to be helping with bullying and I'm getting bullied
Yeah.
here and I'm not getting I like whatever. So I Facebook can be annoying. you know, but I guess any website now can,
Well, and it's like, hey, we kicked you off for this meme or this picture, and it's like, where the hell do you think I found it?
yeah,
On
and
Facebook.
yeah. And well, because that was the old Facebook that didn't catch all this shit. Now it's catching this
That's
shit, and
true.
now it's even busting people from like 10 years ago or something that they posted that thing. All of a sudden, you're in trouble because you posted it 10 years ago, and you're like, I don't even
Yeah, like
remember having that.
you know how your memories come up, for the last few years on this day you posted whatever. Well, a lot of times, rather than sharing that repost, I would just screenshot the picture and then reshare it. And I have gotten kicked off more times for that. I'm like, if I just would have literally shared it, nothing would have happened. Or, because I like, and I tell people this, like, you could, I like people's stuff before I take,
Before you,
I share things to my page because then it's there. Have you ever gone to your page and it says this content is no longer there?
yeah,
That happens all the time. So I put my content there. It's there. I own it now. I can go look back next year. That meme's still going to be there, or that article about whatever. And I used to have my biggest one. I run the town's biggest uh, Facebook page, and it's their news page. In fact, I pulled a prank on the town, and it made the news. And and I lost control of that. They left, and so that's what's funny is they took my page, they kicked my butt off there, but they left on my pages with the thousands of people just to
right.
sit there. I don't, maybe because they have the people. They're like, but you don't have it anymore. It's ours now. Like, what? So yeah, no, I lost access to tons of that stuff once they kicked me off. And then like tons of my movie friends, after I've gotten kicked off 3 or 4 profiles, I start over again, no problem. But they go up to 5,000 people or they're dead now. And I can't send them a friend request because they passed away. And so yeah, and then Facebook has been busted in court. All these guys are censoring for whatever reasons. And I think that them using the AI is because the AI is still trying to figure out what's what. So it's censoring your grandma and everybody for sharing a cooking recipe. It says cut the meat into what. So it's just bananas. And for a while, I started to do things like if you type the word kill and shoot and anything that they will kind of flag it for you, you do K space IOL or S space HOOT, but then that used to work. And then the last time I did some kind of word that they used to not like, they caught on to it. Are you sure you want
Mm.
to post this? Like,
I like I'm sick of that. But are you on X?
no,
No, you left Twitter or
no,
you never were.
I hate Twitter. Twitter. No, I don't like Twitter. It's just for whatever reason, it's to me, it's the sewer of the internet. It's like
Well, I
everyone
mean,
on
it
there
is
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 just like,
more a little free speech in a way, like
yeah,
because
it
they're
just
not.
seems like every time I get everybody's fighting about everything, and it's like I hardly see anything where anybody at all is like, "Yeah, look at this." Oh, okay, there's always just this, "Rah!" And it seems like worse than any other site for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Um, I thought Facebook was bad, but boy, when I get in there, I'm just like, whoa. But I had one a while back, but I would only go on there and I followed like 3 people, like Vic Tafer or Tafor, whatever his name is. He's a Raiders beat writer, so I just get my inside Raiders news or whatever. But yeah, no, it was just I
Yeah.
didn't like it.
I I do it like for the Marvel news or whatever and things like that, like movie news or whatever, but I I try not to get into politics. Sometimes it's fun to just watch the clusterfuck of people like arguing and hating
Yeah,
each
that's
other.
true. That is
And
true.
because I'm not involved in it, like
Right.
none of them are attacking me or whatever.
Driving by a car wreck or something.
Unless I did something stupid once. I started to sort of help out the guy who plays Art the Clown, David
Yes.
Thornton Howard. And I started to like, sort of be on his side against some people that were kind of attacking him. And that was the worst idea ever because all of a sudden these guys were like, "Who are you? Who are you?" I'm gonna start looking up and finding out your past. I'm like, "Whoa, I'm just here telling you guys, man, like, leave him alone. Like, he's just doing
Yeah,
his thing.
chill.
Like, yeah, it's chill." And now you're
No,
coming
that
after me.
that is a huge problem. And, as far as politics, I've been pretty clear to my friends that I don't care who you vote for. If it's different than me, then, I too many people are like, oh, then I don't like you anymore, or whatever. So I look at it like sports. Okay, you got a Dallas Cowboy fan and you have a Washington Redskins fan. Those are arch rivals, but these two
Well,
guys are
not Redskins
best
anymore.
buddies.
They're Commanders now.
Oh yes, yes, I love that. How they they des- the name was designed by Native Americans. The guy in the picture was an actual chief, and it was designed by Native Americans. And then these white people come along and complain about it, and so they name it the most white thing ever, the Commanders. There's no Native American in command. I thought it used to be cool. The Native Americans had a team, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, and the Redskins actually stands for the vermilion face paint that the local tribe wore. And it was all designed by the Native Americans and stuff. And I don't know, it was just, I never understood that, but I just found that when they named it, it's like, okay, it is what it is. If it's whatever, then, I don't have anything vested in it,
I
so no big deal. But
I'm
but
like
the
I'm not a big
Commanders,
oh, Commanders.
the Commander, it just
I
seems so white.
I know, and it so like because I'm from Virginia, so like I'm over by DC and everything. I'm 3 hours away, and like that was the team. Like you can see old pictures of me wearing a yeah, I'll say
Mhm.
Redskins because that's what it was back then. And I was wearing a
Yeah.
Redskins shirt, jacket or whatever and stuff. And I wasn't a huge. I'm not a Redskins fan. I'm like I grew up around
Yeah,
here,
it's the
so
local team. Around
that's
here, we
yeah,
got everybody wears Seahawks gear.
right, because you're over by Seattle, so like
Yeah,
I,
I'm
I
like,
get
that's a
that.
different state, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, my dad's a Giants fan, and he grew up in Massachusetts because back when he was growing up, he had to pick a team, or whatever. The closest teams were the New York Giants or the New York Jets, and he chose to go with the New York Giants. There was no New England Patriots at the time, so
I
if
fell in love with the Raiders because of the colors and everything. And I think the dudes all had like long hair and beards, and they didn't look all the crew cut normal. They just looked like a bunch of outlaw rebels. And so it's like, I don't know. I just thought that was neat as a kid, and the silver and black, and then it just that
but
was
they
it for
weren't the
me.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, though. Now that would be a
No,
funny,
no,
like parody, is like
yeah.
Raiders of the Lost, like combine the football team with Indiana Jones.
Oh, they got there with the sand and the Super Bowl trophy. They're trying to,
Yeah,
do make a run for it.
yeah, and they have to push the ball that's coming after them. They've got to
Yeah,
push.
yeah. They got guys trying to block it.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh Lord, that's like an SNL skit that should have existed at some point. They just didn't do. But anyway, thank you so much. This has been fun. This has been an interesting conversation because, I don't know. I generally speaking, I don't get into politics. I don't care. I'm apolitical. I don't even have a political branch, so I don't care who, like I have friends who are one way, I have friends who are another way, I have friends who are,
Yeah,
in the middle. I don't care,
same.
and the same thing with religion. You can vote, you can be whatever you want. You can be agnostic, you can be atheist, you can be whatever, religion you want, as long as you're happy, I don't
Yeah,
care.
not hurting other people. Nobody,
But the problem is when they do start, acting like that, like my religion or my political branch is better than yours. It
Yeah,
becomes a problem of like, come on, dudes, like chill out. Like I don't, like we can, we're all here trying to, survive this big spinning ball that we live on, and everything.
exactly. Coexist and just everybody should, you know,
Yep.
be happy to,
My,
the as much as possible.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you guys. This has been a kind of a cool thing because usually I do it every other Tuesday, but this will actually be out, this Tuesday. So this will be, this is out earlier than I think planned. So awesome. I'm excited.
All right. Well,
Um,
I appreciate it.
and everybody else, tune in. I think there'll be another interview next week too. So, tune in, for that one. And until then, everybody, bye.